The Panthers have a chance to advance to round number 2 with a win in Tampa tonight, but they're going to have to do it without a star defenseman.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Wednesday, April 30th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from the Hockey News, and you follow me on X and Blue Sky at MondoMan12. Follow the show account on X and Instagram at LO_FLA Panthers, and on Blue Sky at LOFLA Panthers. You can follow the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. And if you are on the YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe and press that like button down below. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. You can do that all on FanDuel. So, Panther fans, grateful to be back here once again on another edition of the show to talk anything in the world of the Florida Panthers, whether it's good or bad, whether they are 3-1, tied 2-2 for the Panthers. But tonight, the Panthers do have a chance to clinch their spot in the second round, as Game 5 will be tonight in Tampa Bay. Today on the show, we are going to discuss Aaron Ekblad's 2-game suspension. We are going to discuss if the Panthers could repeat the performances from games 1 and 2 on the road. Will they'll be without Aaron Ekblad once again? And then we'll give more of a preview tonight between the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning in segment number 3. But doing so with me on this edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, it's Wednesday, which means it's a Winans Wednesday edition of the show. Jacob Winans is back. And Jacob, Aaron Ekblad suspended for 2 games by the Department of Player Safety for his elbow to the head neck area of Brandon Hagel, which knocked him out of the game. John Cooper already said that he has been ruled out for Game 5 prior to the announcement of the suspension. And honestly, I'll tell you the truth, Jacob, I did not see how bad that hit was until the intermission. For me, in live time, it looked like a normal hit, but seeing from the different angles, it was with an intent to injure. And for this one, obviously, this wouldn't happen unless the Hagel hit on Barkov doesn't happen. But 2 games for Aaron Ekblad. I want to get your thoughts on this, and then I'm gonna give mine for this.
Yeah, definitely a suspension-worthy hit, no doubt about it. Mm-hmm. In regular season, it probably gets 4 games, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
In the playoffs, given that Ekblad has no priors, he's played over 700 games in his career and plus playoffs as well, and never had any issues with player safety. I thought that may go in his favor and getting a shorter suspension length. So I was expecting something closer, something more along the lines of just 1 game suspension and leave it at that. I also think the fact that he wasn't given a game misconduct hurts him where the suspension is concerned. I think if he gets tossed from the game, the player safety sort of has a way of policing those things where with almost like a time already served mentality, where if you get tossed from the game, they almost count that as a game in itself, which is the reason I think Nico Mikkola gets off with just a fine. So I'm not entirely surprised that it's 2 games. Would have liked to have seen it just be 1, given that Ekblad has played. He's been an above-the-board, clean player his entire career. He's a physical, defense-first defenseman. That's his style. We've seen him. His style of checking isn't necessarily throwing the shoulder or throwing the hip. He tends to use that free hand to shove. That's if you watch him play. I mean, we've watched him play 700 games, so we know his hitting style, and he comes in with the free hand and delivers a hard shove to the chest most times. Hagel's looking down at his feet at the time, and Ekblad sees a guy vulnerable. It's Hagel. He wants to send a message and throw a big hit. I don't think he necessarily wants to hit him right in the head, but he's absolutely trying to hit him as hard as possible. And if he gets hurt, he gets hurt. And I think that's where it comes into on Ekblad's part. It's reckless. I'm not going to say he's trying to injure him, but he's definitely trying to hurt him. And there's a difference. Injure and hurt are two different things. I don't think he's trying to injure him and take him out of the series, but he's absolutely trying to make sure Hagel feels it. And doing so, he comes across really reckless, hits him in the head. Suspension is warranted. I would have preferred a game. I think 2 games, we don't really have the right to complain. If you put yourself in that position where you leave it up to player safety, you're kind of at their mercy. So I'm not going to sit here and complain about 2 games when I thought it should have been 1. They're splitting hairs. It is what it is. The Panthers are going to have to go back to the lineup that won them the first 2 games in Tampa. Balenskis will have to play. And it's a tough hill to climb, but they're built to do it. And more than anything, obviously everyone wishes Brandon Hagel the best. Concussions are scary, scary injuries, no matter how minor it is. We'd love to see him back in the series, or we'd love to end the series next game, but if not, love to see Hagel get back, and I hope he has a speedy recovery from that head injury. And Aaron Ekblad is a guy who's dealt with a lot of head injuries in his own career. I don't think he wants to be handing out concussions necessarily either. So all the best to Hagel, and I think the NHL sent a message here. No more nonsense in this series.
Yes, no more nonsense is the name of the game for this, and it's a way of the league trying to cover their butts, because I mean, if that was assessed a 5-minute major to begin with, the Nico Mikkola hit on the boarding call on Gergensons doesn't happen to begin with, because Nico Mikkola might be more careful on trying to run someone, knowing that if Aaron Ekblad were to be thrown out, you don't want to put yourself in a position to have 4 defensemen and that was probably something for Mikkola, thinking, okay, Ekblad delivered this hit earlier, maybe I can get there to cross the line a little bit. And that's what happened. That's, in my opinion, maybe that's the rationale for Nico Mikkola to deliver that. And honestly, it's the ultimate lose-lose for the Panthers as well, put in this position, because if you win game 5, he's out for round 1 of the next series. But if you lose this one, you don't have him on home ice, and then you're risking his first game back all the way to a game 7 possibly for him. So that's another thing. That's that's kind of the hit that we're going to hit you where it hurts when it comes to the Department of Player Safety, because knowing that the narrative was he delivered a hit to a guy that injured that hurt their captain. So that's another thing that I think about when it comes to just laying that type of discipline on Aaron Ekblad. And I mean, we didn't see much of the scrums in game 4 as much as we did earlier. I mean, this is a way of like cooling down to the temperature of the series as it's gotten later.
I agree. I think this should probably put an end to it. It's on Tampa's side. You're facing elimination. Backs are against the wall. You can't afford to do anything stupid. That's just the reality of their situation, and the Panthers have been in that situation against Tampa. Heated series, fights every whistle. I mean, the borderline dirty plays on both sides, and then Panthers are down 3-1 or Panthers are down 3-0 in the series, and you can't afford to do anything stupid anymore. You have to play for your life. That's Tampa's situation, so I don't expect them to come out looking for revenge or retribution or do anything that could get the Panthers on a 5-minute power play and potentially end your season. And then where the Panthers are concerned, you're 1 game away from advancing to the next round, winning the Battle of Florida again. You can't afford to go into the next series with any suspensions. Can't afford to squander an opportunity to put a team away. So I expect a more disciplined, responsible, hard-nosed hockey game. And unless the way these 2 goalies have played, I don't anticipate the Panthers really winning by landslide either. I don't think the Panthers will run away with this game. And if the scores get out of hand, then yeah, maybe you could see a Tampa player get a little wilder across the line or try to send a message or take someone out before the next series. But I mean, the hockey's been too tight. I'm not anticipating a blowout by any means in this next game. So it seems unlikely to me. But you made a great point. Aaron Ekblad suspension, it's going to hurt the Panthers one way or another. It could be game 1 of the next round that he misses. And if that's Toronto, that's a road game in a hostile environment. And that's a tough one to have him out. He does a great job defensively, shutting down those top guys. And you know, with the way the result went just now, it could be Ottawa. So it's another situation where you'd like to have Aaron Ekblad on the ice if he does miss game 1. Don't love the idea of throwing him into a game 7 coming in cold. That would be tough. So I guess maybe in a perfect world, the Panthers end the series in 6. The suspension is burned and the Panthers move on. But you're playing with fire at that point. And you just got to get it done as soon as possible.
And again, that's why the rationale and the logic makes sense for it to be 2 games, because once again, they're hitting you where it hurts for the Panthers here. But the Panthers were able to win 2 games on the road without Aaron Ekblad again in Tampa Bay. So we are going to discuss how the Panthers could do so. And there's going to have to be a change back on the power play for the second unit for the Panthers, with Aaron Ekblad at least missing game 5 in this series. We're going to discuss that and more next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And the NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving in to player props. From 3-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel makes it so many easy ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you could even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com to claim your $200 in bonus bets. Let me repeat that. FanDuel.com. Don't miss out on it. Go there and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. And you could do that all on FanDuel.com. Segment 2 here on this Wednesday, April 30th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Wednesday. Here with Jacob Winans to discuss everything in the world of the Florida Panthers, including the Panthers needing to find a way to win at least one road game without Aaron Ekblad, as they have already done twice in the beginning of this series. So Panthers are 14 of 15 on the PK, but 3 of 13 on the power play. Only those 3 power play goals and then nothing since. So it's just been a 5-on-5 type of game for the Panthers here. So I feel like in order to really put this series away for the Panthers, I do think that something is going to have to get right for the Panthers on the power play. But for the Panthers here, now without Aaron Ekblad, they already scratched Mackie Samoskevich for game 4 and he was on power play 2 before being removed. Well, power play 1, then to 2, and then removed for Aaron Ekblad. I don't think it's as easy to say that Mackie Samoskevich will be inserted right into the lineup. And I do think it's going to be Anton Lundell being placed back on power play 2 for the Panthers. And plus, when you think about going into a road environment for the Lightning, which the Panthers have been did a great job, at least in the home part of the series, of having the possession in their favor and peppering as many shots, that even though Tampa Bay has blocked a lot of them. In the first part of the series, it was Tampa Bay that had the possession metrics in their favor. But the fact that Evan Rodriguez, ever since being on that second line, they've that line of Bennett, Rodriguez, and Tkachuk, they've been over 50% in Corsi, shots for, goals for, and expected goals for. So no reason to separate that line, in my opinion, as of right now. So if you're only putting Mackie in to put him on the power play, it doesn't make sense to me, because once again, he's not going to, I don't want him to be in a checking role, which I do believe it's going to be another one of those games where you have AJ Greer into the lineup, especially when it's necessary for them to just get the puck out of their own end for the Panthers here. So I do believe it's going to be, once again, the same forward lines for the Panthers here. How about you?
Yeah, I don't expect a change in the forward lines. I think this is just a tough matchup of a series for Mackie. It's nothing against his game. I just think as a rookie, this is probably the hardest playoff series he could get thrown into to start. Tampa is playing such a tight checking, defense first, clog the neutral zone type of game. it doesn't really bode well for Mackey unless he's able to play on a line with the Barkov or with Bennett and Kachuk or some other superstar players that can help break that down. And right now, it doesn't make sense for him to do that over some of the guys that are already doing that. So where that's concerned, I don't think it makes a ton of sense, really tactically, to put him on the fourth line. You need a true checking line. You need a shot blocking line. You need a forechecking line. He showed that he could do that in the regular season, but I don't think that's definitely not his game. So I don't think you want to expect him to do that in a closeout game in Tampa Bay. That's going to be extremely physical, extremely tight checking, not a lot of time and space. Power play, he's been an asset on the power play, especially in the second half of the season. But we saw him get demoted off power play 1 because he was struggling a little bit with Tampa's immediate pressure and not having as much time as he did in the regular season to really think about the next play or think about the next pass. It's kind of game's moving a little fast for him right now. So it's all right. I think he'll get back in as the playoffs go on. I think Toronto is a much, much, much better opponent for him to play against compared to Tampa. But I would say the same about Ottawa as well. I think he would do well against Ottawa, regardless of who the next opponent would be if the Panthers advance. But yeah, not the ideal opponent for him right now. And I would also say AJ Greer, super, super limited ice time last game. But it was more so the fact that, one, there was a significant amount of special teams in that game, but also the fact that the Panthers in the third period shortened the bench because they were playing from behind and trying to make that comeback. Fourth line really didn't play for an entire period. So it's Greer still got the fresh legs. He's the type of player you want in a game that could get physical and could be really tight checking in a closeout game at Tampa. So I think AJ Greer gets the nod, and I think that would be the right choice.
Yeah, and then for the Panthers, on the D pairs for them, it's going to be Uvis Balinskis back in the mix for them. And went to go back to see the numbers for him to play on the PK. There was 0 minutes played for shorthanded for him. And Nate Schmidt had a little bit of time in game 2, had 0 minutes in game 1, only because Gustav Forsling and Kulikov were guys who went to the box for the Panthers here. So that the PK for adding Nate Schmidt into the mix now, for getting those minutes, along with now the pairs, it's going to be, I'm going to assume it's going to be Forsling, Seth Jones again, and then Mikhail Kulikov as far as the top 4. And that's going to, and honestly, I can't say enough great things about how Seth Jones has played in this series, and the fact that he's going to step up in a bigger role. Although it was shaky at times throughout the regular season when he was paired with Gustav Forsling, a lot of his minutes looked a lot better with Nico Mikkola about how he was able to push play, and to think that both him and Mikkola are 2 guys who could jump into the play for him. But I feel like Seth Jones is going to get more of that opportunity possibly, but it just depends how many minutes he's going to play. He was around like above 25 minutes last go round, so that's going to be key for the top 4, as Forsling has been able to keep all eyes on Kucherov throughout this series. I mean, he's on a 13-game goal drought right now, Nikita Kucherov, since the 2023 postseason. So that's going to be another key for how the Panthers are going to have to limit the Tampa Bay Lightning here.
Yeah, for sure. Forsling and Jones have been an excellent pair so far in the playoffs. I think where you miss Aaron Ekblad the most is going to be on the penalty kill, because you're just not as deep, especially on the right side on the PK without him. So the biggest key for this game is to just be disciplined, stay out of the box. You give Tampa more than maybe 2 power plays in this game, you could be in some trouble. I know their power play has struggled mightily against the Panthers so far in this series, but it's a unit that has the firepower to spark and catch fire at any moment. That's not a situation you want to keep playing around with. So stay out of the box, keep it to 2 power plays or less. I think you'll be fine, and you can survive the loss of Ekblad on the PK. But Seth Jones has been fantastic, logging huge minutes. I think he's come along and developed here and learned the system a lot faster than anyone thought he would. So I'm not concerned about him stepping in. It's just there's an element of being really thin on that PK when Ekblad is out. So it's going to have to be a discipline game. That's going to be the biggest key to this one, is discipline game, and don't put yourself down a man any more than you have to. So that's really what I'm looking for. Jones is going to log a ton of minutes. He'll probably be up between 25 and 30 again. That's what you got him for. He's experienced. You can deploy him in these moments. So it's a big moment for him. And he's got a chance to be a part of a huge series win, and gets the game winner last game. And every game he plays right now, the trade looks better and better for Florida. So.
No doubt. And you stole the words out of my mouth. I was about to say that right before transitioning, but we'll actually transition to segment number 3, where we are going to discuss and preview tonight's game between the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the feeling the Panthers are going into this one up 3-1. We'll discuss that next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Segment 3 here on this Wednesday, April 30th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Wednesday, here with Jacob Winans here as the Florida Panthers will take on the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight at 7:30 on ESPN2 and Script Sports. On the national channel, it'll be with Bob Wischusen and AJ Mleczko. So Bob Wischusen will be coming from Minnesota, the Vegas game, and AJ Mleczko will be coming from the Ottawa Toronto game. So a lot of travel that's going on with these national broadcasters for this one. So Jacob, I do think that one thing that we haven't really spoken about much throughout this series is just how much the Panthers have been able to just still dictate a lot of the play, because of the fact that they haven't had to go to the well of going with 11 F7D when it comes to crunching the minutes of the forwards, even though they shortened the bench for game 4, while there's only been one game where John Cooper has done it, and that was in game 2 for the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's been that Cirelli line that has just been empty with a winger, and then just the rotation. Yeah, there's no Oliver Bjorkstrand in the series for them. Yeah, there's no Brandon Hagel. But I mean, you think about how much an advantage it has been for the Panthers when they're already limiting the Kucherovs and the points of the world for them. But I mean, that's another thing that's truly helping the Panthers. And I believe it's going to be another case where it's going to be another 11-7 situation for the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, the Panthers have a decided advantage right now where forward depth is concerned. And I think that really shows in the fact that, if you think about it, the fourth line that the Panthers ran to end the season of Nosek, Greer, and Gadjevich, I think any one of those 3 guys would be a lock to play in Tampa's lineup right now. They're thin in the bottom 6. It's an advantage the Panthers are really honing in on and taking advantage of. And then when you consider the fact that Tampa's running 7D, their bottom 3 defensemen really just haven't been good. Radish, Perbix, Lilleberg, those 3 guys, it's kind of a rotation of who's not going to hurt us the most. And whenever those guys are on the ice, the Panthers forecheck is all over them. It's turnovers, it's errant passes, and I think that's another part of Tampa's lineup that the Panthers have been able to exploit. Anthony Cirelli also hasn't been a huge factor in this series, and we do know that he's playing through something. He got injured in game 1, didn't return, and then he's played the rest of the series, but he hasn't practiced or taken any morning skates. He's been the lone guy not practicing, which definitely tells you he's dealing with an injury. So it's not entirely the fault of the Lightning that they aren't getting the depth, because on paper, this is a roster that was constructed to have depth. You get Yanni Gourde, you get Bjorkstrand. Those are guys that are supposed to contribute in these moments, and it's unfortunate for them that some of their key depth guys are injured, not really able to contribute right now. But with that said, the Panthers' focus is going to continue to be taking away the top guys. If you're not getting killed by Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov, Jake Gensel, those guys are the ones that really drive the offense. It's going to increase your chance of winning. odds are in your favor if those guys aren't torching you. The one game Tampa wins in this series, Jake Gensel went off. He had an incredible game, really put the team on his back. You can't let that happen. The last game, I'm okay with Mitchell Chafee scoring. I'm okay with Eric Chernak scoring. It's uncommon. You're not going to really see that happen a lot. As long as you're taking away the big guns and the top guys on this team, I think you're in good shape.
And the fact that the Panthers have had 5 goals from defensemen and then adding into the Marchand line recently. I mean, and we haven't talked about this really at all. I mean, Barkov is quietly having such a great series. Yeah, 0 goals, 4 assists. I mean, but I feel like there's just another level that he hasn't reached yet in this series that we're just waiting for. And the fact that he's still quietly having a great series for him, I just wonder if this is the game that it's gonna finally unleash for him, as far as like putting just the foot on the throat for the Panthers here on the Lightning. And yeah, like you mentioned, Cirelli is playing hurt. I expect Connor Geekie to be back on the lineup after being a scratch himself in game number 4 for the Lightning, with Hagel being hurt. So that's another thing for the Panthers on just how they just need to continue to press on and just put on the pressure. Because I was listening to Josh Sperber of Locked On Lightning and what he was saying in his post game, and he mentioned something that the ESPN broadcast mentioned. If you're playing along the boards and you're going to play towards Florida's game, if you're going to play to the speed game, you are playing Tampa Bay's game. So that's really what it's going to come down to. And honestly, there have been those times you will see the Braden Points of the world get into speed on the net front from time to time, and we haven't seen it overwhelmingly, but Bob has came up with the stops, and he's had a lot of time to just not be all over the place in his crease. And that's just been the great thing on just maybe sometimes even for him overthinking when he comes up the gut and he's taking a shot from the high slot instead of waiting sometimes to go all the way to the net front. So that's another thing about just how the Panthers just get into the opposition's heads. And here's something that I thought of. The Panthers are probably getting up there and probably being one of the most hated teams in the NHL, if you really think about it. Matthew Tkachuk's antics from time to time. I mean, even though Nick Cousins not in the mix anymore for him, what happened with Eric Branson last season, and again, this adding this onto it with Aaron Ekblad, Nico Mikkola, not just last game, but what happened against Montreal. The Panthers are in that place across not just NHL fans, but the opposition, that they are just as hated as can be. And that's what happens when you win and you also play some bully puck.
Definitely. There's a couple of great points you made there, but I want to start with that one. Every good team has to have a little bit of nastiness to their game.
Yeah,
that's just a fact of hockey. You're not going to be a winning team if you're not playing nasty and on the edge a little bit, and you're going to have guys who cross the line occasionally. It's going to get punished sometimes, like it did with Aaron Ekblad, and sometimes it's not, like Sam Bennett. Sometimes you get away with one. At the end of the day, if you're getting in the opponent's head the way the Panthers are now, arguably the best in the entire league at, that's the psychological advantage is so apparent in when you're playing in a series where you're gonna have to face the same team 4 to 7 times in a row. That the psychological edge is super important in a series structure like that. And the Panthers have gotten really, really good at wearing teams down physically and then pissing them off mentally to the point where they're completely off their game. Tampa has become, in the last couple seasons, a team that really has a hard time hiding the fact that they're frustrated. It's more than other teams. It's very apparent when Tampa's big time players are frustrated. Body language is super evident from Kucherov. He'll slowly skate back to the bench, head down, slam his stick, yell at the officials, complain. Gensel has kind of been one of those guys lately. At Braden Point, not so much. He's a really quiet guy, just goes about his business. But Tampa's got some guys who you can clearly see on their face and in their body language that they're rattled and frustrated. And that's what the Panthers are trying to do to you. And that's a fact of the Panther style of play. And it definitely rubs some teams the wrong way. very clearly rubs fans the wrong way, even though things have spiraled a little out of control where the fans are concerned. If you're on social media, it's gotten a little crazy,
Yeah.
which is to be expected in this series. And then everyone will shake hands and wish each other the best and move on at the end of it, the same way the players do. But it's something the Panthers, I think, take pride in and make it a point of emphasis in their game. And you also made a great point about Tampa's style of play being the fast-paced run-and-gun style, and the Panthers being more of the grind you down, board battle, slow the pace type of style. It's a style clash, and it's almost a complete reversal of what it used to be between Florida and Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
The Panthers were the high-flying, super fast transition team, rush chances, would score 6 and give up 4 on any given night. Tampa's not quite that, but they do rely a lot on rush. They do rely a lot on speed, and a lot of their game when it's humming is east-west versus north-south. The Panthers have to be cautious of that, pay close attention to that. You saw in game 1 and 2, the Panthers won those games pretty handily in game 1, and really responsible game 2. But the chances Tampa did get were more driven off east-west play than grinding you down. So take away the rush chances. Bob does better when shots are coming from the perimeter and there's no traffic. So keep the crease clear. Force Tampa to play perimeter hockey for a game. Win the board battles, as the Panthers should have the advantage there, and I think you'll be okay. So I think the style clash. If you force them to play a Panther style of game, they just don't have the horses to play that type of game anymore. It's kind of a rush and speed team at the moment in Tampa.
Yeah, and Paul Maurice did speak about the emotions going into game number 5, and he just spoke about how sometimes you just have to go back to what you do well and just focus on the game at hand. And I mean, hey, we even saw it in the Amazon series when it just pound them so that when they get to game 7, they have nothing left. So the Panthers just have to keep pounding them and just continue to wear them down and just be that team to just keep up with the pace for them, which they've shown so much of how well they are in fact conditioned and over and over again. But Jacob, I want to thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for joining me on another successful Winans Wednesday. So tell everybody where they can follow you online, my friend.
Yep, you can follow me on X at Jacob Winans 8. And I don't know, man. I don't know about you, but I am excited. It's a closeout day. It is a chance to see a handshake line, and that is the most exciting time in hockey. So I'm pumped.
Yeah, let's see if they can do it. Hopefully they can, and especially on the road where they've played so well. So let's hope, my friend. So thank you so much, dude, and I will see you next week.
Looking forward to it. Thanks.
And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone and Stu Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez with Jacob Winans, and you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every day.